Welcome. In this video, I will be showing you ways to integrate Alumio with Spryker. For the purpose of this video, we have chosen to integrate Spryker with an SFTP. We have 4 integrations created, 3 of them being unique entities and 1 replicated integration to show you bulk processing capabilities. So we have 2 routes that read data from SFTP and send data to Spryker, namely the merchant data route, any product offer route. Any product offer route has been duplicated or replicated to also show you the batch processing capabilities. At the other end, we have order data coming from Spryker and going to an SFTP. So we're pulling orders from Spryker and we are creating XML files for each order pulled. So let's go and start by going to connections and then to routes. So on the routes here, if we filter on the name Spryker, we can find the 4 routes created for Spryker. So let's start with the first one. It's merchant data from SFTP to Spryker. So if I open this, we can see that this route consists out of an incoming configuration and out of an outgoing configuration. The incoming configuration is the part responsible for doing the import. The outgoing configuration is responsible for doing the export. As you can see, we can also enable retrying of failed tasks here. So we can say, okay, if a task here fails, then retry it for 3 times and then keep 5 minutes between each retry, but only for the status field. We can also say, okay, I'm going to make it real-time processing. So if I hit real-time processing, then I only need to fire up the import, and then it will also automatically export all the data that comes from that import. So let's go ahead and go to this import. So if I run this import, if I run the incoming, we can, this will take a little bit because it's going to do the import, but also immediately going to export the data towards Spryker. But if we go to the logging and we refresh the processes found here, we can actually see the logs here. So we can see that a task is being created. We can see that Alumio is doing an API call to this endpoint. We can see that it has been accepted by Spryker. And we can also see that the same task has become finished, and it will do it so for 7 tasks. If we take a further look at the incoming configuration, we can also see that this is configured to read a file from the file system. So it's all pretty straightforward. We can see, okay, it's looking for a file called merchant_data.csv. We can limit the number of files read. Well, in this case, we are providing a absolute path to 1 file, so it will only read 1 file. But we can also limit the number of parsed items. So if this is a big file and we only want to read it like 10,000 records at a time, then we can configure that here. We can also add some plugins to this incoming configuration just to enable some extra functionality. Now, if I go to dashboard, I don't need to save this, and I go to the last tasks. We can see the merchant tasks down here. So just to show you it once more, let me just disable the real-time processing. Let's pull some new information from this CSV. Now, if I go back to the dashboard, we can see the 7 new tasks. If I open it, we can see those merchant tasks. So here we can actually see the data it read from the CSV. If I open one of the tasks, we can go to the entity data. We see the data that belongs to this task. So the data that was pulled from the CSV, we can also see it was translated to a JSON by Alumio, so you can provide further processing. Then at some point when the route is ran, so I'm going to run this manually now, we will see that these tasks that are now sitting at new will slowly disappear from the queue because they are being processed, they are being sent to Spryker. And if I remove the new filter, we can also see now that they are also finished. If I then again open one of the tasks, I go to the export messages, we can see the data that was sent for this specific merchant to Spryker. We can also see that the data sent to Spryker is different than the data that we received from the CSV. So for this, we use a transformer to map the data from the incoming schema to where it has to go to. So if I copy this data, if I go to the route and go to the outgoing configuration, if I then open this transformer, we can see the transformer that has been configured here. So we can see a few move actions. We can see it's going to move all address-related fields. We can see that it's going to move the store. We can also see that for the merchant opening hours, we are going to call a mapper that's called JSON decode to an array. So it's going to take a JSON string and it's going to turn it into an array because that's required by the Spryker API. And the result of this transformer can be seen here. So if I now hit run test, we can see that this incoming data turns into this data that's actually at the end sent to Spryker. So now we have another route, which is, so if I go back to the route overview, let's go to the second one, which is the order data from Spryker to the SFTP. If I open this route, we can see that it also consists out of incoming configuration to pull the order information from Spryker. We can see it has an outgoing configuration to create the orders on the SFTP. And we can also see that this is already actually running automatically. So if we go to the scheduled jobs, we can see that there's a scheduled job attached to this route, and it's called the order data from Spryker to SFTP incoming and outgoing. The job type is incoming, but because the route is set as real-time processing, during the import, the task will automatically be processed. We can also see that by going to the logs. So if we go to the logs, we can see here that every minute it's going to finish 10 tasks. We can also say, okay, we can go open the scheduled job and we can say, okay, I don't want it to run every minute. I want it to run every 2 minutes. Then it's as simple as that. Then we have two more routes, one for the product offers one by one and one for the product offers in bulk. So if we take this one, the product offers from SFTP to Spryker, let me open the incoming one and let me open run the incoming configuration. Okay, we can see the subscriber has been consumed. So if I go to the dashboard, we can see it created 0 tasks. And that is because when we open logging, we can actually see that everything is being filtered. Filtered one of one entity, filtered one of one entity. As you can see, everything is being filtered. And this is because we applied our delta storage mechanism. We use this delta storage in order to detect changes. So if I go to the storage and then storages, now open the Spryker proof of concept consume product offers and I go to the entities, we can see that this contains all the 609 product offers that we would expect. And it's going to hold the entire data and it's going to do a comparison to see if it has changed. If it hasn't changed, it will filter. But if it has changed, it will update the storage and create a new task. So what we can do, I can manually change the quantity here to 14. So it's different now than from the CSV. And I'm going to remove this 8115255. So now if we go back to this incoming configuration and I run it again, we can see that we have 2 new tasks. And that's correct because we amended one and we removed one. So if I go click on this, we can see that the Spryker proof of concept product offer has 2 tasks. So what we can do is we can run this route. And now we can see that they will be processed. But we can also go to the logs here of the route. And here we can see it processed 2 tasks in 5 seconds. And that's actually not that quick. So this is usually very dependent on the systems you're going to talk to. In this case, there seems to be probably quite some distance between our environment and the Spryker environment. So there's some delay in processing the data. So what we can do is we can also apply bulk processing because that's something supported by Spryker. So instead of sending it one entity by one entity, we can read the entire file and we can send either the entire file at once or we can send the entire file in batches. So if we take a look at the bulk processing incoming, so let me just run this. So when I run it, I go to the tasks, we can see it creates 1 new task. If I open this task, we can see that this task contains all the offers. So all these 609 offers, and they also all have been already transformed to the data that Spryker needs. But now if we also go take a look at the outcome configuration that we created for this, so the bulk product price create, we can see that this has a transformer. And this transformer is responsible for splitting this list into chunks. So down here, we are saying, okay, we have chunks of 500. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make chunks of 200. So now I'm going to run the route, the bulk route. And now the bulk route has been processed. And if I now go to the export messages and we check for the logging here, we can see that it actually did multiple API calls in one task. So it did one API call with 200 products, another API call with 200 products, another API call with 200 products, and the final API call with the remaining 9 products. So it did 4 API calls because we had 609 products. We can also say, okay, instead of chunks of 200, I want chunks of 1000. So in this case, it will create 1 task with 1 API call. So let me pull some more information from this bulk incoming. As you can see, we now have a new task with all the offers again. And now if I run this route and we do only a single batch, we can see it's way faster. So now if we go to the task, we can see it's finished. If I go to the export messages, we can also see that it only did one API call and then it finished the task. So this is way more efficient, and this just shows you that we are able to support any kind of integration that you need, whether it be one-to-one integrations, one-to-many integrations, or bulk processing, real-time integrations. Everything is possible using Alumio.